In the center of the center, there's a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. In the center of the center, there's a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. In the center of the center, there's a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. In the center of the center, there's a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. In the center of the center, there's a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. In the center of the center, there's a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. In the center of the center, there's a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. In the center of the center, there's a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. In the center of the center, there's a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. In the center of the center, there's a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends. Shining, shining, a light that never ends. Shining from the center, a light that never ends.
I hope it's my turn. I think so. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Common Thread Church. My name is Suzanne Looper, so it's my privilege to welcome you today and to tell you how much we want you to know that you belong. If you are here for the first time, you belong. If you came a long time ago and have just returned, you certainly belong. If you're joining us on the live stream, or if you stumbled in from the sidewalk this morning, you belong here. I found this place a year and a half ago, and the one thing that people do very, very well here is to help you believe that you belong. If you want to know more about us, click on the QR code and we will send you a zero pressure email with more information, including the option to connect with a live person. And if that's really what you want in terms of learning more about this church, that's the best way to go. It's a first-hand account of what the place is like, where we shine, where we fall short. Mostly how we believe that transformation is the end and the aim wherever each of us are on our spiritual journeys. Knowing that making a journey together takes us so much farther than we could go all by ourselves. So, again, welcome. And an even more heartfelt welcome if you're having a tough time today. You know that in our culture, it is our tendency to isolate when we're going through something. But we know that standing with each other on our rough days is an act of love, of solidarity, and part of what makes our personal and collective transformation possible. So every Sunday after the service, there's a listener down the hall who is there for you to hold space for you, an ear, a shoulder, somebody to celebrate with you or to bounce ideas off or just to allow you to be wherever you are today. And everything that you say to that person will be held in confidence. At any time, if you want to talk with someone, you can go to the URL to request more support through our community care team. Morgan Herr leads that effort, and if you let her know what's up with you, she'll try to link you with the right person. And now let's say together, as we do every week, if you are here, you belong. We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light. And we are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath. And as carriers of inner light and divine breath, I invite you to stand and greet each other. Go ahead.
Or you are, I'll go find another napkin. You know where the bathroom is then?
Yeah.
All right. I was gonna say you're welcome to jump in, but you're also welcome to experience it.
Better place, standing high upon this mountain, shining from a place that lights the path back down to what's below, blessing lives in what is given, within you rests all you'll ever need to know. So walk down this mountain with your heart held high, following the footsteps of the sacred, and with this love that's gone before you and these people at your side, you offer up your broken cup. You will taste the meaning of this life. Hey, hey. And I see we're all still standing. Just look around and you'll find the sacred in us all, drawing us from mountaintop to valley, leading us to where the people are. So walk down this mountain with your heart held high, following the footsteps of the sacred, and with this love that's gone before you and these people at your side, if you offer up your broken cup, you will taste the meaning of this life. This life. We're standing in a place of peace, and this is how the world could be. 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 So walk down this mountain with your heart held high, following the footsteps of the sacred. And with this love that's gone before you and these people at your side, if you offer up your broken heart, you will taste the meaning of His life. Hey, hey.
As you can see, we have a lot going on, as we always do. Today, after the message, we will have the What Are You Thinking, Feeling, Sensing. I think it actually comes in the other order at best. Is what are you sensing, and then feeling, and then thinking. That way, when you articulate, you're ready. We also have a drop-in Enneagram group this right after the service in room 209. And then you can see other gatherings that are coming later. You're going to talk about the contemplative Enneagram retreat, or is it up there? Yeah. I noticed that there is on September 19th a contemplative Enneagram retreat that's going to be held here in this facility. And that sounds really cool. We have board nominations that are open until September the 6th. And, okay, and we have babies. I got the slides, I didn't get the order, but I want to welcome babies. Congratulations to Ender, who's a new grandfather. Nash Alexander Jordan, born July 28th. And my friend Khaki McKinney is a new grandmother of Vivian Elizabeth Pruden, born August 3rd. And I'm so happy that Mama and baby are okay. And if you missed anything or want to know anything more, you can always find out one of three ways: in the app, on the website, and through the weekly email.
Thank you, Suzanne. What actually happened, Jennifer Lassiter was supposed to be our liturgist today, and she fell ill yesterday, and so Suzanne jumped in and got a peek at the slides and told you everything I was going to say, but I'll elaborate a little bit. Thank you. Let's give Suzanne a hand. Thank you for stepping in at the last moment. You did great. Yeah, just real quick on the board nominations. If you've been around here for a while, you know that we seated our very first actual governing board in September of 2024. Before then, we had a board that was more of a council. an advisory council, but we established a governing board almost 2 years ago. And right out of the gate, we did not align with the timelines and the dates that our bylaws called for, because what we were called to do is at the beginning of each year, we open the floor for nominations. And then the current board sifts through the nominations, and by the time we get to June, new board members have been chosen. So we're just a little late this year doing this. But what we're looking for in order to get in sync beginning next year is we are looking to have 2 new board members seated at sometime in the next few months. So if you are interested in being on this board, let me remind you, governing board might sound intimidating, but we are a garage band. And I want to remind you that it's actually, I will say that the board that we have had since 2024, we've gone through some changes and shifts there, they have put in a ton of work. As you can imagine, shifting from being one kind of institution to another. And so the good news for any new board members is that I think the hardest work has already been done. So if you are interested in joining this board, all you need to do is be a member of our community, first of all. If you just want, a few of you I see new today, please do not nominate yourself as board member. I don't think you'd have any clue what you're doing. But you need to be in the directory. That's kind of how we know that you are committed and have been here for at least a year, I would say. Would make sense. And really the board's job is pretty straightforward. It is governance. It is the guarding our values, thinking about our future, who we are becoming. In fact, if you're going to be on this new board, we are looking for a retreat. A leadership retreat is going to happen sometime before the end of the year as well, which will include new board members, old board members, people who are in other leadership capacities in this community as we begin discussing basically who it is we're becoming. Because we are a different church than we have been in the past, and we're continuing to grow into something different all the time. And so that's really important for us to find our center. And so that's kind of going to be the first big ask of the board. Just to kind of quickly let you know how it works. When a board member is nominated, you can nominate yourself. If you're on the board, you can nominate yourself. It's just that the term comes open every 2 years. And so each year we will bring two members on who will serve for 2 years, and then the next year we bring 3 members on who will serve for 2 years. So odd years and even years is kind of how we have that balanced out. So this year we're looking for the 2 members. 3 of our board members are going to stay on until June of this upcoming year, and then we will replace, not necessarily replace them if any of them want to be renominated and it's decided by the board that they're going to stay, they'll stay. But we will have pretty much a new looking board come next June, and this is a good way, I think, for us to maintain the continuity of the folks who've been on this board for a while, to be able to transfer kind of their wisdom and knowledge to the newer folks who will then be able to carry that through to the folks in June. And so then we'll be in that rhythm for the next time. So the email address here is, this is Drew Hill, who's our vice chair at the moment. So if you email him that you are interested, or you can nominate someone else, the only thing that I would suggest is that maybe you run it by that person before you send it, because they might not be pleased with you to be nominated if you haven't checked it out with them. But I know there are, and just like I said, just keep in mind, if you are interested or somebody you know gets nominated and isn't chosen this time around, don't worry, you will be chosen at some point probably, because that's the kind of community that we are. We all step into leadership, we all play the roles for as long as we feel called to play them and hold this community together and move it forward. So if you have any questions, and Ashley has a question or a comment. The positions get determined by the board members once they are there. So it really is just, if you are interested, at the moment we have all positions filled except for the board chair, but that doesn't mean that somebody who's on the board right now might not step into that role. That would be a decision that the board would make amongst themselves, who's going to have those roles. So right now it's just, I'm interested in the board. By the way, no commitment. If you're interested and you just want to find out more and then you decide after you hear what it's all about, nah, I'm not interested, that's fine too. But the nominations, we'll have them through, what did I say, September 6th, okay? Any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Want to let you know a few things that are happening at the Ridge. I think we had mentioned that on the 19th, yes, we're going to have that contemplative retreat. You'll learn a little bit more about that soon. We're really going to encourage, I hope that we get a great turnout that day, because we are looking to reinvigorate our Enneagram program here, and that's going to be a big way to kick that off. So if you're interested in coming, but the night before, the chairman of the board are going to be here. It's kind of a fancy, what are they, like a beach music band, right? And they're going to be doing a concert here at the Ridge. So They're looking for sponsorships. If you have a business or know somebody who runs a business or would be interested at all in financially supporting this, reach out to me and I'll get you connected with folks at the Ridge. But this upcoming Thursday, what you're going to notice over the next 3 weeks, you know that we share this space with many other groups. And there's a theater company, Scrap Paper Shakespeare, I think is called, is doing Pericles, which is that's a show that doesn't get performed very often. They're going to be doing it here, and they're opening it up to anybody who's a partner at the Ridge for free this Thursday night. So if you're interested in coming into this room and seeing that production, that'll be this Thursday, and then the next 3 weekends they'll be performing in this space. And we have a really good relationship with this company. I know that we've had some struggles before with some other companies that have come in here, but these folks work with us really well. There might be some like light rigs or something that we'll deal with for a few weeks, but we're not going to have the windows, you know, blacked out or any of that sort of thing like we've had in the past. So we're happy to share the space with them, and it sounds like it'll be a good production. I'm thinking there was one other thing I wanted to talk to you about other than this baby again, who we see up here. And so, Khaki, if you'd like to send us a picture of your beautiful grandchild, we'd be happy to put her up next week. I'd love it. That'll be 3 weeks in a row we're talking about the babies. Yeah, so really, really excited about all of that. One thing I did want to say, I do see some new faces here. Welcome if you are new. My name is Sue. I'm the pastor, and I kind of like to wait until the room is a little fuller before I say those things, because if I say it at the beginning, you might miss it. And right now, I would like for us all to get grounded again. Take a few deep breaths. Fill your lungs with air. And exhale fully. Just lean into some of that breathing that we practiced during the month of July in the room and on Substack. And just for a moment, without trying to make anything happen, see if you could just notice what is here. Bring some attention to a sound you had not been paying attention to before. Maybe the hum of the room. Maybe Joe's guitar. To identify or decide whether you like whatever it is that you're noticing. Just notice, and notice that you are aware of it. Now bring your attention to your body. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel them grounding you. Feel the weight of your body in your chair. Feel your hands resting wherever they have landed. Nothing needs to change, just notice what is here. And notice that you are aware of it. Now become aware of your breathing. No need to change it, no need to breathe differently. Just notice the air coming in and notice the air going out. Just simply let yourself be carried by something your body already knows how to do for you. Now see if you can notice a thought. You don't have to go looking for one. You are human. A thought will come. Maybe it's about something you need to do later or something that happened yesterday. Maybe you're wondering how much longer this meditation is going to last. Just notice the thought. Maybe you're having a feeling. Maybe you feel at peace. Maybe you feel restless, sad, irritated, joyful. Just notice. And now notice what's been true through this meditation. Awareness. Just dwell there for a moment in the simple fact that you are here and you are aware that you are here. There's nothing to force. There's nothing to solve. Just dwell here and trust that the way knows, and the next moment will arrive.
You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to find the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. to know the way knows the way. You don't have to find the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to find the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to find the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to find the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to find the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to find the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to find the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to find the way, trust the way, feel your way. The way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way.
So why does anything feel like anything? I used to think I was the only, or maybe just one of very few weirdos who asked what seemed like such an oddball, maybe even useless question, but I've asked this question a lot throughout my life. And lately, I keep running into versions of it everywhere. In neuroscience, in philosophy, in conversations about artificial intelligence and contemplative traditions, in the growing interest around altered states and unusual experiences of consciousness, and even in that Dan Brown thriller I read last month. And underneath all of those very different conversations is this slippery word we keep using, consciousness. Now, part of what I mean by consciousness is very immediate. It is the fact that we are aware. We do not simply take in information and respond to it. There is an inner experience happening. We think, feel, remember, imagine, love, and somehow we know that we are doing it. So maybe one way to say that is this: experience is what consciousness is like from the inside. Consciousness is the capacity for awareness. Experience is the particular way that awareness is being lived in any given moment. But throughout this series, I'm also using consciousness in a much larger sense. I am wondering whether the awareness we experience individually might be an expression of something much bigger. Whether consciousness is not merely something happening inside separate brains, but belongs somehow to the very nature of ultimate reality itself. Now, these two notions of consciousness are not exactly the same, and I don't want to collapse them too quickly, but they do keep bumping into each other. Because whatever cosmic consciousness might mean, the only place any of us can begin is here, with consciousness as we actually know it, with experience. So think about the morning you have already had. Before you even walked through these doors, you were already moving through a wide stream of experience. Maybe you woke up tired or anxious. Maybe something on your phone irritated you. Maybe somebody said something profound and that has stayed with you. And those were not simply neutral events that happened, they felt like something. And because we are always inside experience, we almost never step back to question it. But that felt quality is precisely what makes consciousness so interesting, at least to me. We are not only here, we are aware that we are here, and being here has a texture from the inside. And that texture is always shifting. Sometimes the same thing can barely register one day and reach somewhere deep in us the next. For instance, I can listen to a song I've heard 100 times, and one day it's just a song, and another day, for reasons I may not even understand, it catches me somewhere deep. My chest might tighten, or a memory might surface. I might feel lighter or heavier or more at peace. Now, science can tell us a great deal about what my brain is doing in that moment. It can tell us what parts of the brain are active, how sound is being processed, what systems of memory and emotion are involved in it all. But even if we could describe every bit of that activity perfectly, there would still be something left we simply cannot explain. Why does the music move me? Why does that memory hurt? Why does anything feel like anything? Now, I don't know if anyone can ever use words to answer that question, or that there is a conclusive answer to that question, but that doesn't mean people aren't trying to answer it. One of these people is a guy named David Chalmers, and he's an Australian philosopher and cognitive scientist who has spent much of his career unpacking the nature of consciousness. And he's become especially well known for distinguishing between what he calls the easy problems of consciousness and the hard problem. Now, the easier problems, if you really want to call them easy, have to do with figuring out what the brain is doing. How does it process information? How does it store memory? How does it direct attention? How does it recognize a face or respond to pain? And these are actually extraordinarily complicated questions, but they are at least the kinds of questions science has been able to engage with and find some answers for, and we can imagine science continuing to answer them in greater and greater detail. The hard problem is different, because even if we could explain all of those mechanisms, we would still be left with the experience itself. Why does seeing the sunrise fill us with awe? Why does grief feel heavy in the body? Why does the presence of someone we love register not simply as information, but as warmth, recognition, longing, or joy? That is the hard problem. We can increasingly map what is happening in the brain while those experiences are occurring, and we can see the correlations, but the map still does not tell us why any of that feels like anything from the inside. So if Chalmers gives us the philosophical version of the question, author and teacher Michael Singer gives us a much more immediate way into it. Now, Singer has spent more than 50 years exploring meditation, awareness, and the inner life. And his books, including The Untethered Soul, have reached a wide audience because he makes questions that can sound abstract or mystical feel surprisingly accessible. Instead of beginning with philosophy or neuroscience or consciousness in the cosmos, Singer starts with something we can observe directly, the voice in our own head. And you know the voice I mean. It's that voice that comments on everything. The one that rehearses conversations before they happen and then replays them when they're done. The one that worries about tomorrow, argues with people who are not even in the room, remembers something from 15 years ago at exactly the wrong moment, and occasionally seems to have very strong opinions about absolutely everything. Singer asks a deceptively simple question. Who notices that voice? Because thoughts arise and then they disappear. Emotions arise and they disappear. Sensations move through the body, memories surface, impulses come and go. And yet, there is something in us that can notice all of it happening. We practiced noticing just a few minutes ago in our meditation. You can notice yourself thinking. You can notice yourself becoming angry. You can notice fear moving through your body. You can probably even notice that your mind has wandered at least once while you're supposed to be paying attention to what I'm saying up here. Which means, at the very least, there seems to be some distinction between the contents of our awareness and the awareness that is able to notice them. And what I love about Michael Singer is that he does not require us to make a grand metaphysical claim about what that awareness is. His question is not really asking us for an answer. It's just asking us to notice that there is awareness at all. That's pretty much it. Now, if Chalmers shows us how difficult consciousness is to explain from the outside, and Singer asks us to encounter it from the inside, then the next question is, where does consciousness come from in the first place? Is it something the brain creates or something the brain participates in? Now, most of us in our mental, rational structure of consciousness have inherited a fairly simple story. Matter comes first, then matter becomes increasingly complex, brains develop, and somewhere along the way, consciousness appears. But the more we sit with the questions Chalmers and Singer are raising, the less complete that story begins to feel, at least to me. And someone who can help us bridge this gap is a guy named Bernardo Kastrup. And he's a computer engineer turned philosopher whose work centers on what he calls analytic idealism. Now, Kastrup starts with a deceptively simple observation. Whatever else we think we know about reality, the one thing we know directly is experience itself. Everything we know about matter, brains, even the physical world, comes to us through consciousness. And that leads him to flip our usual assumption. Rather than starting with matter and trying to explain how consciousness somehow emerges from it, Kastrup asks whether consciousness itself might be the more fundamental reality, and whether everything we call matter are unique expressions of it. And he argues that developments in neuroscience and quantum physics, even though they can't prove it, make that possibility worth taking seriously. But that still does not answer our question. It does not tell us why consciousness takes form or why anything feels like anything at all. But it does open a door that I find fascinating. Because if consciousness is not merely something produced inside individual brains, then we are no longer asking a question about the mind. We are asking a question about the nature of reality itself. And that takes me back to language we have used here before, speaking of God as endless unity. What if that endless unity, the one, the ultimate reality, becomes the many, so that what is unmanifest can become particular, so that beauty can be seen, grief can be felt, love can move, so that consciousness can experience itself from somewhere? And if so, then maybe consciousness is one of the ways divine life becomes manifest in creation, because without particularity, there is no lived experience. There is no seeing from somewhere, no feeling from somewhere, no knowing from somewhere. There is no I and you. There is nowhere for love to move. And maybe that is one way of imagining why the one becomes many, so that the infinite can be experienced from within the finite, from countless particular points of view. Now, I don't know, that might sound like a pretty wild theological leap from contemporary philosophy, but human beings have been reaching toward versions of this intuition across cultures and centuries. In the non-dual Hindu tradition of Kashmir Shaivism, for instance, ultimate reality is understood as consciousness itself, expressing itself through the multiplicity of the world. In the Jewish mystical Kabbalah tradition, the infinite and unknowable divine becomes manifest through creation in forms that can be encountered and known. And Christianity has its own language for this. St. Augustine spoke of God as closer to us than we are to ourselves. Meister Eckhart said that the eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. Teresa of Avila imagined the divine already dwelling at the deepest center of who we are. And then there is this other deeper Christian mystical sense of creation itself as divine self-expression. I've mentioned Jakob Böhme before, a 17th century German shoemaker and mystic who imagined the hidden divine becoming revealed through manifestation, through particularity. Sister Ilia Delio, who I've also mentioned many times, carries a similar intuition into contemporary evolutionary theology. God is not simply a finished being somewhere outside creation, but becomes increasingly manifest through the unfolding universe and through us. And consciousness may be one of the most intimate places where that happens, because in consciousness, divine life does not simply take form, it becomes aware from somewhere. It sees through these eyes. It feels through your bodies. It loves, grieves, wonders, remembers, and chooses through particular lives. Now, all of these traditions are not saying exactly the same thing, but they do share a striking intuition. The many may not be separate from the one. There is diversity in endless unity. There must be. And so maybe creation is not so much something a God out there made, as it is how what is hidden in God becomes visible and embodied. And maybe consciousness is how what is hidden in God becomes felt and known from within. And if that is true, then our particularity matters enormously. Cynthia Bourgeault has a line that I love. Dwell not in what you are, but that you are. And most of our attention, most of the time, typically goes to what we are. What defines us, what we think, what we feel, what we believe, what's happened, what we fear, what we want. But Bourgeault is pointing beneath all of those particular things to something much more basic, that you are. That I am. That there is awareness here participating in life at all. She's not asking us to explain who we are or think our way into some new identity. She's asking us to rest our awareness in the simple fact that we are here. And maybe this is where the two meanings of consciousness that we've been playing with begin to touch each other a little more clearly. Because there's this small c consciousness, my awareness, your awareness, this particular place from which each of us experiences reality. And then there is the larger possibility that our awareness is already dwelling within a greater consciousness, a larger life in which all of this is happening. Dwelling in that we are means letting our particular awareness rest for a moment inside that larger belonging. Not trying to understand it, not trying to transcend ourselves, simply becoming aware that beneath everything we are is the astonishing fact that we are. And that makes our particularity matter even more, I suspect. In order for us to be human, and perhaps in order for God to be God, particularity is necessary. If the one becomes the many, then this life matters. This body, this history, this way, your way of seeing and loving, your way of being wounded. The infinite becoming particular again and again, because only then can there be perspective, relationship, experience, and somewhere for love to move. Which means, of course, none of us gets the whole view. Which is why I'm especially looking forward to What Are You Thinking today? Because I've kind of told you where I find myself with this question as best as I can with words. But if the one really does take form as the many, then I want to hear what the other particular expressions of the divine in this room make of it. Why do you think anything feels like anything? What do you think consciousness is? What do you make of the possibility that we are participating in something larger than ourselves? And I do not expect us to arrive at one answer. I don't think that would be possible, and I'm not even sure that would be the point. Maybe the point is not to arrive at one answer, but to recognize that each of us is seeing from somewhere, and none of us is seeing from everywhere. Which is where we will pick things up next week, turning to the lens through which we perceive reality itself, and to the possibility that the very filters that limit what we can see may also be part of the grace of seeing from anywhere at all. Amen. As a matter of fact, friends, in the live stream, what we're going to be talking about next week was something that was inspired by you during your What Are You Thinking, Sensing, and Feeling conversation last week. And so if you're new to the live stream and you want to have a conversation with some folks, then you get to do our remote version of what it is that we do in the room each Sunday called What Are We Thinking, Sensing, and Feeling. And what we're going to do is we'll talk about the sermon, we will talk about the service, we'll talk about what's going on in our lives, what's going on in the world, and you get to participate in the same conversation, not the same one, but a similar conversation online. So if you look at a link right below the video that says, What Are You Thinking? Click on that. It will take you to a Google Meet, and you will get to connect with some of the best people I know who will have a conversation very similar to ours. They have learned how to build, sustain, and nurture robust remote community, and they would love to have you join them for the conversation. So please feel free to do that. And if you are not interested in talking this morning, that's fine too. But if you are interested in us, there is another link below that one where you can request a newcomer email. It is not dissimilar from the one that Suzanne mentioned earlier, but this one has a little more remote specificity to it. So if you think that you are interested in being part of our community, but being engaged online is the way to go, that might be the email that you want to send. It is zero pressure, just let you know a little more about us. Friends in the room, can we dismiss our friends on the live stream by putting one hand on our hearts and remembering that the divine indwells us, and the divine is among us, and we are called to share what is in us, this love that is in us, with the rest of the world. And so let's extend our hand to our city and to our world, resolving as we do each week to share what is in us with everyone with whom we live, with whom we work, with whom we go to school, everyone we encounter on the street, as we take seriously each week our charge to be healers and repairers of our world. Amen. Friends on the live stream, God bless you. You are dismissed. Friends in the room, I invite you to get in touch with what you are in this order that Suzanne mentioned earlier: sensing, feeling, and then we'll talk about what it is we are thinking.